Unless there's a history with them. I'm tired of talking to quarterbacks. Let's talk to some linemen.
Yes.
Let's get in the trenches. Let's get in the trenches.
We go back to the Raising Cane's guest chair. Andrew Whitworth is with us. Hello, sir. How we doing? Uh-oh, we can't hear him.
Dennis,
got him
up?
now?
Can you hear me now?
We got you now.
There we go.
Man, you got me thinking I'm hungry now. He's talking about Raising Cane's.
Well, they're coming Friday. If you want to come back tomorrow.
Stop.
Don't worry, my
Couple
guy.
chicken fingers?
Listen, Raising Cane's started on LSU's campus when I was in school.
Is that right?
Yeah, baby.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's a
right
sauce.
outside campus. Yeah.
It's about the sauce, right?
Oh, sauce, the chicken fingers, the toast.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
come
that's
on.
their model. They're usually around college campuses.
Yeah, they started right outside LSU's campus a couple years before I got to LSU. So that was their first store. A lot of late nights running from the dorm to go get some chicken fingers, that's for sure.
You've made this transfer from player to media quite well. You enjoying it?
It's been fun. It's it's one of those things where I never thought I would do it. I never did a boot camp. I never did any of that stuff. I wish I had, but I didn't. And I got done, and I was like, man, what's the way I could stay closest to the game? Because it's obviously changed my life, my kids' life, my wife's life. It's had a massive impact on us, and I want to continue to be around it. And so when I found there was an opportunity to do that, it's been something I pinch myself every day just to kind of be around. As I say, doing this stuff on TV is great. Those couple hours before every game to see guys, to be on that field, just to give hugs and handshakes and appreciation is amazing.
You surprised the Rams got back and made it interesting this year? You guys were sort of a tear-down rebuild somewhat, with quarterbacks still there.
Well,
Found some receivers.
I wouldn't say I'm surprised because, listen, when I showed up in 2017 as a 35-year-old and met this 30-year-old head coach, Sean McVay, I tell people all the time, our first month of OTAs, I was incredibly impressed, and it really set the tone of who he is and why he's going to always be so successful. We spent our first 4 weeks of him holding team meetings, and here it is, this offensive guru, supposedly. We spent most of our time talking about what does character look like? What does it look like to be accountable? What does it look like to be dependable? What does it look like to be an all-world communicator with my body language, with my, visually, verbally, everything I do? What does championship communication look like? We spent our time working on the intangibles of what a human being, in my opinion, not just on the football field, but in life, how you can be successful. And I sat there and said, wow, at 30 years old, like, this is your priorities, this dude's going to be legit. And then you start going into the playbook and the mentality and the mind he has, and you go, this guy, it took me maybe 6 months of just being around him to start thinking in my mind, because I've always had a GM-type mentality as I played, how would this dude ever get fired? Because you start thinking, like, to me, you think of, why would a guy, what's going to be the ending for people? Just like with players, right?
Yeah. He almost bounced to Amazon.
Yeah, and so you think about it and you go, all right, mentality. Man, he's amazing at creating, the mentality of what it takes to play. He's an unbelievable guy at articulating the message, and everybody walks out of that room, they have a clear understanding of what we're going to do. He's an unbelievable game planner. Now he's involved in the defense, the special teams, the entire building, everything we do. And you go, well, you start to sit around and go, all right, this dude is going to do this for a really long time.
You see why the coaching tree spans out from him.
I remember last year was the coolest moment. Obviously, him and I are very close friends, best friends. But I was at the commissioner's party, and Arthur Blank pulled me aside, and he goes, hey, obviously I've told him congrats for hiring Raheem. And he goes, no, it's not just Raheem. He's like, everybody I've talked across the league, guys that interview Sean's guys, man, I want you to tell your friend it's incredibly impressive. Like, when they come from him, their interviews, how prepared they are, the message of how they're going to get to where they want to go and how they're going to achieve success. It's very clear that he has a massive impact, and he's an unbelievable teacher at the same time. And so it's really cool to see him have success, and I look forward to him having a lot more, because I think you really think about it. If you think about the Rams, what they've accomplished with him, they've actually never really had a true, what you would call, normalcy of building a roster and drafting picks. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And you think when he got there, they had traded everything away to get Jared Goff, right? So really, they've never had any normalcy in their process since he's been there. So they're just now entering this phase where it's all being built through the draft and those type things. So I think this will be fun to watch where they go from here.
Did you like the hire in Jacksonville, talking about disciples and coaching tree guys, of Liam Cohen getting the head coaching job there?
I love Liam. He's a guy, when he went to Kentucky, when Sean was kind of, we were losing guys, and as he's done every year, we were having those conversations. He's one of the guys that I recommended, I think Liam will be great to bring back here. So, he came back for a year and then went back to Kentucky and ended up in Tampa. But I think Liam is, he's got a special, that as I always say, this college quarterback, obviously, so he's been in the room, he understands, that vibe. but he's got this special ability to have this bounce back to him where he's fun, he's energetic, he's got a plan, he understands what's good football, but then also he can take the punches. And like I would see, Sean apply pressure to him or him get into situations, and he might have a rough day, and Sean might go after him for something, but the next day he's got the same gumption, the same inspired spirit, and you're like, all right, this dude's made of the right stuff. Like he can respond to those punches in the mouth, and so it'll be fun to see him go. The thing you worry about guys like that, where it's like, man, you just had a couple years being an NFL coordinator basically, and now you're a head coach, is that NFL head coach has zero to do with any of that. I mean, you're putting out fires every day. You're handling this player's family situation, the contract situation, the issues you have between two employees, like all these other things that have nothing to do with football, much less all the football. And so you just hope in that hiring process those guys are thinking about who they're putting on their staff, like who are their truth tellers, who are the guys that are going to question them when maybe they're out of line or maybe they're going down a path that they don't think they need to be down. Who's going to be the guy who walks in his office and goes, hey, this is what we need. You're like, hey, man, do you know you're kind of offline of what our message is or what we're doing? Or, we might want to think about cleaning this up, or here's a problem coming down the road. You need those people. And so I think, it's going to be real important that he makes sure that he's built some people around him that way.
You did your rehab with Joe Burrow, correct?
Oh,
you guys were matched up at the same time. Remember that story when you were talking about it. So you played with Matthew, who's been in the league a long time. Yep. Obviously, Joe, his ceiling's very high for him. What's Cincinnati missing to get them over the hump? And what do they have to do to keep that thing together?
I think the biggest thing they're missing, if you look at it, is their ability to replace really good players. And what I mean by that is if you look at it, like obviously it started when I went to L.A., then it was like all of a sudden the tackles they had drafted, it didn't really work out, and now you're behind the eight ball. And then
always had good backs, had good defensive line.
You get Joe Burrow, and then you got Joe Burrow, and then you got Jesse Bates and these guys on the defensive side, and all of a sudden you start to have success while you lose Jesse Bates. You got DJ Reader, like, oh man, great guy, like need this guy. He's a great player. He's great in the locker room. We got to lose him. We try to replace him. It hasn't really worked out. You look at everywhere they've tried to replace people. Now you're sitting in a situation with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Joe's begging for both of them to be back, but you actually drafted a kid last year you thought was going to replace one of them, and that's been a disaster. So, again, you've not replaced any of them. And so it's just continuing to struggle to find, all right, how do we have good players, develop guys, and then draft well behind them to where there's people that learn from them and step in. Look at the situation that's happening in L.A. right with Cooper Kupp. Yeah. His impact, how amazing he's been. That entire room of wide receivers will be different for the rest of their careers because they got a chance to spend 5 minutes with Cooper Kupp, much less all the years he's been there. So Puka Nacua has been trained and prepared from all that time that he spent with Cooper to be exactly who they need Puka to be. That's how you have to be able to sustain success. And so for Cincinnati, it's being able to be a little bit better at replacing some of their good players if you're not going to keep them.
What would Cooper Kupp mean to Drake May if a team like the Patriots traded for him?
Cooper Kupp is the equivalent to having Sean McVay on the field. Like Cooper Kupp could walk in a room right now and run an offense. Like he's that intelligent. He understands the game that much. When we would go eat and have breakfast and spend time together, he's one of those guys that's like, dude, I can't wait to coach football. Like he's that type of guy. Like he wants to sit in a room and dissect film and break it down and all those things. So his ability to teach when he's on the field, he's teaching the receivers, he's helping the tight ends, the linemen. He would come up with run schemes that we're going to run in a game, how he can get more involved in the run game and like how we can like block a play. Like we used to run like basically outside zone with him chipping the end like he was a tight end because he would be like, man, teams don't expect that. Like what if I just came and became the tight end and we'd run out there? Like he would come up with those things, And so his mindset and that kind of stuff, just being valuable for that quarterback. I've always said this, like, young quarterbacks, it's what happened in Chicago with Caleb Williams. Like, who was on that roster that you go, all right, young quarterback, there's a veteran on the offensive team that's the stable teacher type guy who's in his ear every play, every huddle, like, hey man, don't forget about this situation, don't forget about getting the ball out right here, like, hey, this is a play, the ball's got to come out, or hey, this is your drop, this is where I'm going to be on the field. Like, who are those people in his ear? Like, I know for me in my time, my experience with Andy Dalton as a rookie, with Jared Goff as a young player, like, those things were invaluable and they would need those things, and they'd give me feedback, say, hey man, I appreciate you reminding me of those little things in the huddle. That stuff's invaluable. And so a guy like Drake May having people like that in his huddle, much less just people think put talent around him. Yeah. Talent's great, but if that talent doesn't know where they're supposed to line up and what they're supposed to do, it doesn't do anything for NFL offense. At the level you have to be efficient. And so I think having a guy like Cooper Kupp would be unbelievable because he would have an impact across that entire room.
All right, Andrew Whitworth
Great
is
stuff,
with us,
man.
and he was with us today, courtesy of Mr. Clean.
I don't have any thoughts on it. If you
Mr.
want to
Clean,
know.
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
I am Mr. Clean,
an
man.
endorsement.
Hey, listen. 4 kids, 3 dogs. Who else would I pair up with? A bald-headed, sexy, good-looking gentleman that has cleaning products. So I need lots of cleaning products.
There you go.
I got dog crap and pee and kids junk all across my house. Trust me.
All right.
It's a constant cleaning fest.
Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Have a great week.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Andrew. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it,
Andrew
guys.
Whitworth.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.